Welcome to On the JoB with your host, Linn Paris, editor of the Journal of Business. On the JoB is about the Inland Northwest business community, where you'll hear firsthand the backstories from the men and women reporters at the Journal of Business. On the JoB is brought to you in part by McNeese Wheeler Attorneys. Here's Linn.
Welcome to On the JoB with me, your host, Linn Paris. I'm the editor of the Journal of Business, and that's what JoB stands for, Journal of Business. I'm here with Leanne Bjerken, one of our reporters over at the Journal. Welcome, Leanne.
Thank you.
So we just came out with an issue. It's a good one. And Leanne, you had a story in it about, let's see if I can get this right the first time, limited license legal technician.
Yes.
That's
so
almost right.
3 L's in there.
Yeah.
Kind of a mouthful.
LLLT.
Yes.
All right. So why don't you tell us what LLTs are?
So triple LTs, or limited license legal technicians, are a new kind of law professional, similar to like a paralegal in some of their training. But this is a new career or profession, if you will, that was devised by the state legislature as a way of providing less expensive legal services to underserved populations. So if you have a legal issue, but you're worried that you might not be able to afford an attorney, this is someone you could go to for advice on paperwork or things like court processes, just to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at.
Sure. So what is it that the LLLTs can do?
So it sounds like so far what they can do is they're allowed to advise clients and help them mostly to navigate paperwork and court processes. They are not yet able to actually come to court with their client and represent and negotiate on their behalf.
Sure. Well, that stands to reason. How different is that work from being from being a paralegal?
That's an excellent question.
So, no, but I mean, I think one of the things that you talked about was that a lot of paralegals, or a lot of the people who are getting their training as
Yes.
LLLTs, have worked in the past as paralegals. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So this is kind of a it's also a pathway for people who are already paralegals to add to their experience without necessarily going the whole 9 yards and going through law school.
Sure.
If at this point they can't really afford to do something like that.
Sure. Now, you wrote about this profession for the first time for us about a year ago. What's changed in that time?
So in that time, they've had another class of people go through and actually obtain their full license. And so they have about 31 people who are licensed triple LTs right now, and about 40 more that are working to finish their educational requirements. But the big thing is that now we're starting to see triple LTs that are actually opening their own practices or practicing as part of other law firms.
As part of a larger law firm. And that is one interesting thing, is that they can hang up their own shingle, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's kind of another interesting part of this new profession, is that they do have the ability to kind of set up their own practice in order just to provide those specific services for people who couldn't otherwise afford an attorney.
Sure. And we've seen the first one of those practices
Yes.
open in Spokane, is that right?
So the first Spokane practice with a triple LT here in town is out in Spokane Valley. That would be Barbara Esselstrom, and I interviewed her as part of the story, just to get a sense of what her history with this program is and what her plans are for her practice out there.
Sure. And if I remember correctly from your story, she had a pretty extensive background in working for law firms prior to pursuing this.
She did, and she sounded like she still does some work with the firm that helped her to get some of her practice hours as part of her degree too. So
Great. Now, that's a good lead into talking about some of the educational requirements to become a limited license legal technician. I always have to look. So, what are the education requirements?
So, limited license legal technicians must have, at a minimum, a associate level degree. So, part of that needs to be 45 credits of core curriculum education, which I guess that part of the program is available at, I want to say 5 different community colleges in the state that offer that portion. And then they must also take a 15 credit practice education portion. So right now, the only area of practice that limited license legal technicians are able to pursue is the family law practice. Sure. So that particular part of the program is only available through the University of Washington.
Okay, and it's but they mostly take it online. Is that right, or is
It is available online just because since it's a statewide program, they want people from all over the state to be able to access those courses. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. And then there's a, not an internship requirement, but a
kind of similar.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So they would need to, once they've completed all of their educational credits, they're required to take 3 exams and then complete 3,000 supervised hours or about 18 months worth of work under a practicing attorney.
I see. Interesting. So it's not a profession that's meant to replace attorneys by any.
No, it's from what I understand, it was, you know, in creating this program, they're working to help smooth some of these court processes for just to make sure things don't get quite so backed up when people don't understand how to fill out their paperwork or don't even know, you know, where to start. You know, I'm supposed to show up at the courthouse on Monday and I don't have anyone to guide me, that kind of thing.
Sure. And like you said, it applies to family law exclusively at this point.
Yes.
Is there any effort to expand that into other areas of
There is.
law?
So that's part of the other part of the reason why I wanted to do an update on this particular profession.
Sure.
Is that the LLT program has a board that works in conjunction with the Washington State Bar Association, and those 2 organizations are working to add more practice areas. Some of the ones that were mentioned include consumer money and debt and immigration. So if they're able to get those added to the program, then limited license legal technicians would be able to study those areas specifically and also be able to offer their clients advice pertaining to those kinds of matters rather than just the family law.
Sure. So once again, areas of law that people with a wide variety of means, or put another way, people with little means might need some assistance from time to time. Yeah. Now, do I remember correctly that Washington State is the only state to have this type of designation so far?
It is so far. I believe one of the other states that's pretty close to adding a similar kind of program that they were talking about would be Utah.
Okay.
So,
sure.
But there are other states that are, you know, kind of looking at Washington as well. You know, how is this program going, and, you know, what could we maybe do that would be similar here
Sure.
in our state?
Great,
So,
great.
yeah.
Well, good stuff. So I wanted to put in a plug for another story that Leanne had in this edition, and it was about the owner of L'Etat Bistro and his partner. He's selling the restaurant in a neighboring latte stand, and they're focusing on not a new company, but another company they have called Flower Farm.
Exactly.
Which is making an organic, gluten-free
flour blend.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's at SpokaneJournal.com. Go there to check that out and see a bunch of other stuff that Leanne wrote this time. Good stuff, Leanne. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right, thanks everybody.
On the JoB is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. On the JoB is brought to you by our friends at McNeese Wheeler Attorneys. Ask Linn a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. The following is sponsored by our friends and community supporters at McNeese Wheeler Attorneys. McNeese Wheeler is a boutique law firm in Spokane, handling matters in both Washington and Idaho. Areas of law include business law, wills, trusts and estates, family law, personal injury and wrongful death, and real estate matters. For your full-service legal needs, contact McNeese Wheeler Attorneys.